I'm pleased to yield 2.5 minutes to Mr. Yarmuth. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ranking Member. This is the 6th year that I have been a part of this process on this committee, and essentially it's begun to get a little bit like Groundhog Day. We've heard the same arguments year after year, based on the same budget year after year. And we continue to hear that this is what the American people are demanding. Well, I'm not exactly sure who the majority party is listening to, except maybe each other. Because if you remember, this was the Ryan budget that was so heinous politically that presidential candidate Mitt Romney had to disavow it in 2012. He certainly didn't think it was very popular. So how does this budget fail to meet the desires of the American people? Well, 2/3 of Americans say that the inequality gap that exists in our country is only getting larger and that it should be addressed immediately. But this budget does nothing to close that gap. In fact, it continues to protect tax expenditures, as the ranking member said, that favor the top 1%, including the preferential tax treatment of unearned financial gains. That's more than $150 billion a year, $1.5 trillion over 10 years, that only benefit the extremely wealthy. 63% of Americans, including presidential Republican nominee Donald Trump, want to close the carried interest loophole that allows millionaire hedge fund managers to pay a maximum income tax rate of just 20%. This budget protects it. Americans are working harder than ever, but their paychecks don't reflect it. Median income is barely higher today than it was in 1989. But this budget doesn't call for an increase in the minimum wage, which 73% of Americans support. It doesn't invest in job training programs, which 83% of employers support. Instead, it protects special tax treatment for CEO compensation and bonuses, which the majority of Americans oppose. More than 70% of Americans in an NBC Wall Street Journal survey supported eliminating the billions and billions of dollars in tax breaks that we give to oil and gas industries. This budget protects them. This budget actually protects loopholes that incentivize and reward companies who ship jobs overseas. I think we all know how that polls. Even Donald Trump, once again, agrees with us that it's outrageous. At every turn, this budget ignores the will of the people, not just Democrats, Republicans too. A new poll released this month found that 56% of Republican primary voters support tax increases for households making more than $250,000 per year. And 58% of Republican voters agreed that deficit reduction should consist of both spending cuts and tax increases. I would say that the Republicans on this committee seem to be the only ones that support this proposal. So, measured against the stated priorities of the American people, this budget fails them across the board, and I suspect and hope it will fail to pass the House as well. I yield back.
Thank you.